Okay, good morning. Welcome everyone. My name is Diego from Armor Cybersecurity, and today we have people from different countries. We have people from countries like Canada, like South Africa, Ecuador, Peru, the United States, and other variety of industries. Um, Buenos días, mi nombre es Diego Carabedo de Armor Cybersecurity. Vamos a tener la opción para las personas que nos acompañan de países latinos, hispanos, tienen la opción en la pantalla de poder aplicar el traductor simultáneo si prefieren. Hay un traductor simultáneo en la pantalla, en la opción de la pantalla. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Navigating the Future of Cybersecurity. We're going to talk about AI threats, ransomware, and resilience, and cyber threats involved. Businesses must stay ahead to protect their operations, data, and customers. Today, we'll explore the biggest security challenges for this 2025 and the strategies to strengthen cyber resilience. This session is brought to you by Armor Cybersecurity, and we are a company specialized in cyber defense solutions. We specialize in help businesses of all sizes protects against cyber threats with cutting edges, security technologies, and expert-driven strategies. Today, we're honored to have two top industry experts leading today's discussions. We got David Chernitsky, CEO and co-founder of Armor Cybersecurity, with over 25 years of experience, including a distinguished career in the Israeli Defense Force Intelligence Corps. David has led Armor Cybersecurity to become a trusted name on global cyber protection. And we have also Araniat Hikari. He's a Chief Strategy Officer for Armor Cybersecurity, and he's seasoned expert with over a decade in experience in cybersecurity strategy, incidents, response, and risk management. Arani has worked in the big four firms related to cybersecurity, and he served as an intern CISO for leading organizations. So get ready for an insightful session. Let's dive into future of cybersecurity. Welcome everyone, and see you.
Okay, good morning. Thanks, Diego. And my name is David Chernitsky. Like Diego mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Armor Cybersecurity. We will have today we have left 57 minutes to go through quite a lot of interesting and engaging material. We have, like Diego mentioned, we have people from 5-6 different countries from around the globe, and we counted from people that registered around 13 to 14 different industries here. Anything from food manufacturing, supply chains, banking, financial, legal, education, insurance, retail, telecom, and so on and so forth. And I think what brings us here together, it's a common problem that all of the businesses, all for profit or non-for-profit, it really doesn't matter half today. It's a cybercrime that exponentially growing in recent years. We as Armor seen this trend happening 5-6 years ago, and as a result, like Diego mentioned, we built one of the most capable cyber defense team today globally. We have people with a big four consulting firm background, people with military background. We are completely technology agnostic and industry agnostic, and we servicing today clients globally. As cybercrime doesn't care about borders, we don't care about borders. All businesses around the globe have the same issue. We have very diverse team, about 200 people with different capabilities that bringing a global experience to our clients. And let's move to the next slide, please. Just quickly insight into our client base. I think my marketing people couldn't fit all the logos, but with the time it got very very expressive, and it goes beyond saying. Cybercrime touching today all industries, and I'll let Rani to talk briefly about our services.
Awesome. Thank you, David. And good morning to everyone. Thank you for making the time today. Again, as Diego mentioned, my name is Zarani. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Armor Cybersecurity. Again, at a high level, right, these are the various services that we cater today, right? Again, we don't want to make it all about us today, but we are a full service cybersecurity shop. So anything from advisory services, talking to about your strategy, talking about your threat risk assessments, doing compliance readiness for you, any implementation that you need, any sort of security operations center. We have our own security operations center that we operate as well. Last but not the least, obviously, forensics and incident response. Sometimes we start a relationship with our clients with an incident response, not the ideal place to start, and we'll go through why that's not an ideal place to start. But again, looking forward to today. Thank you again for making the time. Let's dive in.
Okay. And we'll go through a few topics and we will have time for questions. By the way, if you have any questions, post them as we go through the webinar to the chat. And we would like to start from AI-based cyber threats. We all heard about the rise of generative AI, and eventually it's a fantastic technology that will revolutionize how people work today. In office environment, in non-office environments, it will touch almost every industry out there. Unfortunately, cyber criminals see a tremendous opportunity as well, because AI, at the end of the day, it's a productivity tool. It's a tool that allows people sometime to do same amount of work like they did 3 years ago in 1/10 of the time and 1/10 of the cost. You might have significantly less skills, and you can do something that you might not be able to do 3 years ago. But today, with AI, criminals leveraging that as well to create, for example, new types of malware that no one heard about it. And we'll not be very technical today, because we have people from IT background and the leaders of the business. We'll keep it very high level, and we'll try to chew it down to simple words. At the end of the day, it's a phenomenal productivity tool to hackers. They can do new type of malware. They can do it much faster. People actually requiring significantly less skills to get into cybercrime if you're using AI tools. And unfortunately, cyber defense industry always playing a catch-up. With AI right now, the gap is opening up. And we want to show here one of the examples that, let's move to the next slide. Let's play the video, and we'll do like 15, 20 seconds of the video. I think it's good. What you see here, it is a impersonation capability of AI. It's enough today to take 15 seconds of any one voice, or about a good chunk of pictures of any person, so you can make a very realistic video that allows you to impersonate this person. And the last year, to 2024, it was a new type of attack that one of the banks in Hong Kong sent $25 million somewhere, because guy that looks like CFO, guy that looks like speaks like CFO, got on a call and gave instruction to one of his employees to wire $25 million, and this money been gone. Sorry. Let's just jump on the next. Thank you. And at the end of the day, both 1 year ago, it was a kind of, wow, this is incredible capability. Well, fast forward to today, this is not a surprise anymore, and this capability evolved drastically. It can happen in real time. You can have conversation with a person that you know for years, and sometimes people fooled and don't realize that they're talking to a chatbot. And of course, attackers, once there is a money to be made, their motivation is a link directly. If there is more money to be made, they will put this effort. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of aspects. It can be a malware that will be used on a very IT-style type of attack. It can be used for social engineering. It can be used for IP stealing. AI is a new thing. We will not jump and dive today into different solutions and techniques, how to be how to deal with that, but we see in our practice it's increasing demand, and we are building capability. And running, maybe before we jump to next topic, if you would like to add anything.
Absolutely. Now that we spoke about the malicious side of how AI is getting used, let's talk about some good side as well, right? So again, it's a powerful tool and a powerful platform today that everybody has gotten used to, right? Some of the good ways that we're seeing AI being used in the defender side of the world is, I'll give a classic example, right? When we deal with security operation centers, right? So our teams are dealing with thousands and thousands of alerts, right, on a daily basis, right? Sometimes those numbers kind of spike up on an hourly basis as well. Now, with the help of AI, again, again, AI is a broad term. I think the technical terms like machine learning is much more applicable, but we are able to train on that data, right, to focus our analyst on certain aspects only, right? What is the true thing to kind of go behind, right, when it comes to the thousands of alerts we are talking about, right? So while there are a lot of malicious use case of AI, today what we are seeing is a lot of security products, a lot of security platforms are using it for the benefit and for the good side of it as well, right? So there will always be that catching game that David talked about, right? Because again, the attackers are going to move much faster than the industry will catch up, right? But right now we are working with a lot of different startups, a lot of different new companies who have not even come out of stealth at this point of time, who are using AI for the benefit and the good. So I think there will be this catch-up game that will always happen, but we are slowly seeing that trend and shift, right, towards using AI for the good purposes as well. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, so I'm sure by now most of you heard what is ransomware and data breaches. And if we can simplify in very simple business terms, what is ransomware? It's when malicious actors take over of your data and render it unusable. And data exfiltration, it's when someone is taking, in a simple plain English, just steal your data and taking it out. And a lot of people asking why in 2025 it's still an issue. If you look at global statistics, last year, 2024 ended up with 10.5 trillion, with T, $1 trillion in damages globally. And if you look at the underlying root cause, why? Because there is 4,000 cyber defense technologists built. There is a chronic shortage of workforce, trained cyber defense labor workforce globally, 3.5 million people missing in this industry, plus high velocity of transformation, that people moving to cloud, people modernizing these systems, especially after COVID, open the door to a completely, I would not say completely, but the enforcement of cybercrime today is very weak and almost not exist. If you're in Peru, for example, and the Russian hackers stealing your data, most of the time authorities in Peru cannot do anything about it. And I know we have today a lot of folks from Latin America specifically, based on leading research firms, showing that attacked 40% more than countries like Canada or US. And the reason why, because of slower adoption of modern defenses. And sometimes, for example, Brazil, Peru, Uruguay, and Ecuador, those are top countries that are attacked today. Why? Because sometimes they're adopting very advanced technologies like payment apps. Hackers, they're not adopting fast enough security, and as a result, we see hackers exploiting this deficit in a security gap, and eventually it's a lot of money to be made. 10.5 trillion in damages. A lot of that is just money taken and put in the pockets of hackers. And of course, you need to understand, hackers, it's not anymore a young kid sitting with his keyboard in the basement of parents somewhere around the globe. A lot of time it's a state level. Whenever there is state level to be exercised, there are players like Russia, China, North Korea, they're funding their kinetic wars with cybercrime. many times it's cartels. It's much easier to commit cybercrime than do human trafficking or drug trafficking. Hacktivists, insiders. There is a lot of aspects that any organization that need to look at. And at the end of the day, ransomware, it's not one type of solution that you put silver bullet and you're done. You need to prepare for those events. You need to prepare your organization in terms of governance. You need to put proper controls, proper technology. You need to exercise. What we see today in our practice that once ransomware happens, basically they lock down an organization. It usually happens after they destroyed your backups and they took data out. If you refuse to pay for ransomware, they put on the table a very strong card and saying, hey, we'll release your data if you are not willing to pay. And this is called double ransomware. We also seen triple ransomwares where they're going after clients that you have in your data and demand the ransomware against them. And unfortunately, this trend will continue due to deficit in cybersecurity defense market. And I know we have short time, Ronnie, if you would like to add anything here.
Absolutely. I think, again, ransomware is the topic of the year, right? It has been going on for some time. Unfortunately, I think we'll see this evolve a lot, right? The ransomware operators we are seeing getting extremely complicated as well, right? However, right, and we have a section on this at the very end, the way they get into the organization is not sophisticated, right? So we're not talking about, states always, having a state sponsorship behind them, and they're not using sophisticated 0 days or extremely advanced techniques to get in. The recent 2 or 3 investigations that I can think on top of the mind that we did in last month for ransomware cases was all because MFA not being there, multi-factor authentication. So, the second factor OTP that you get, your weak credentials, right? Or simply not patching your software, right? So while the impact of a ransomware can be huge, right? So yesterday, we actually read about a case. It's not our client, it's again another organization in UK. An organization in UK that has been operating, for last 100 years in business, right? But they got shut down in 3 months because of a ransomware attack, right? So imagine a business having that sort of legacy, having existential threat now, right? They can't operate or they can't survive right now because of a ransomware attack, right? Again, the impact can be huge, right? But the way we often see the operators get in is very basic, right? So, one of the topics that we'll cover today towards the end is back to basics, right? So while we can talk about the most advanced security solutions out there, I think we ought to kind of look at some of the basic things that we can do today, right? That can stop a ransomware attack. So another topic, of interest nowadays is about cloud security. Now let's talk about cloud, in general, right? There is a saying that cloud is nothing but another computer in another location, right? So we might think about cloud as a sophisticated technology, but it's another data center that's out there, right? So now we know the big 3 providers: Microsoft, Amazon, Google Cloud, right? But we also have a lot of software as service, clients out there, right? Now, with cloud comes a lot of threat as well. And the primary reason we see a lot of these threats come up is because of a common misconception in terms of the shared responsibility. When we migrate to cloud, when a client moves their infrastructure, their application, their code from an on-premise data center or a server to a Microsoft cloud, as an example, oftentimes, we think that Microsoft is going to take care of all the security issues, right? They are the ones who are handling all the security areas, which is true to an extent, right? They do take care of their data center security, right? But at the very end, in cloud world, we call that the shared responsibility model. What that means is there is some responsibility of the customer who is moving to the cloud as well, who actually has the responsibility for security and securing and lock down the environment, right? The amount of incidents that we have seen on cloud because of sensitive data exposure, right? So somebody loaded something on a database and that database was exposed out to the internet, right? Now, did they need to do that? Probably not, right? Did they know that they had to secure it? that's where the gap is, right? They did not know, the clients and the prospects did not know that they had to secure, right, that database from being exposed, right? So when it comes to cloud, again, it's very, very, very important to understand that there is some responsibility for, from a security perspective for the clients to do. Some of, again, the other common threads that we can see, again, we list some of those down, like account hijacking, credential misuse, unauthorized access to cloud. Now, while these are very technical from a cloud infrastructure perspective, what we help clients do is once they're on that journey of migration, once they're moving their infrastructure from an on-prem to cloud, we help them log those downs. Now, some of the risks that we kind of talked about, again, when it comes to cloud, right, we have software as a service, right? So think of your email, right? Most, if not all of the customers that we kind of see are either on Microsoft 365 or on Google Workspace, right? Now, while we may not traditionally think them as a cloud infrastructure, at the end of the day, they're software as a service, right? Now, we see a lot of incidents happen because we did not enable multi-factor authentication on 365. These platforms inherently give you a lot of security controls that you can lock down today, right? So while you are paying for some of the services, a lot of customers and clients may not know that you're actually paying for a lot of security tools as well that is available in the license, right? So it's very important to kind of know what you're paying for and how you're locking those things down, right? One of the recent, again, we go by incidents. We talk a lot about incidents as we talk through the scenario because that's where the lesson learns happen, right? A big bank, again, in the US, right, in the recent years exposed a lot of personal data of their clients over a AWS S3 bucket, right? Now, S3 bucket is essentially like a AWS. You can think of it as like a AWS storage media, right? That was exposed out to the internet and data got exposed, right? Could have been prevented? Absolutely, right? Are there security controls that can be done? Absolutely, right? So there are a lot of security guardrails and frameworks that we can use today to lock down cloud environments, right? Then we're going to add something.
Yeah. And I think to tie to what we mentioned previously, there is a gap in knowledge on how to secure those modern platforms. And if you look at 100% of organizations out there, once we work with with governments or very large organizations, they usually have access to individuals that have the right set of skills. But once you're going to majority of economies around the globe, and it's fascinating to see that it doesn't matter if it's Latin America or US, Canada, or Europe or Far East, most of the businesses in every country predominantly are small and medium enterprises that rely many times on IT people and not cybersecurity people. And many times we are comparing that it's like two different doctors. You have your general physicians, your IT people that can talk in general about security, but whenever and they can, like general physician can talk about your cardiac problems in general, but if you need an intervention in open heart surgery, no sane person will do open heart surgery with your general physician. You will go to specialists, you will go to cardiologist, cardiac surgeon, to be precise. And we see gap on executive level and the business level that people still learning the fact that you have to have IT people and you have to have cybersecurity people. And as a result, once they're relying on IT folks, move to cloud is a reality today. It's completely new paradigms. How do you protect this beast? And the cloud companies, they want to do business, so there is a lot, like Rani mentioned, there's a lot of features that are there, but they turned off by default, because if they turned on by default, it will not work out of the box. You turn it on your cloud environment like Microsoft 365, it works right away. But to make it secure, it's a lot of know-how that relies on you and your teams how to do it. And many times, if you're small and medium enterprise, you don't have this expertise in-house. Get this help from outside. And let's move to the next topic.
Absolutely. The other topic, again, Internet of Things, right? Now, is this a new concept? Absolutely not, right? It has been there for ages, right? What is the Internet of Things? It's basically a hardware device that can communicate over internet. It's a smart appliance that today that can communicate over internet and talk to their servers and get back data, right? Now, yesterday I was actually looking at the data sheet for my robo vacuum, right, at home. I actually found out that the parent company, and David is laughing for a reason, right? The parent company is actually owned. It's manufactured in the US, right? But the parent company actually is owned by a state company in China. Right now, what does a robo vacuum do? Right, I think a lot of us, have robo vacuums at our place. Right, if you think about it, the utility is great. Right, my wife loves it. Right, but when it goes around the house, mapping the layout of your house, they exactly know what the layout sort of looks like. Right now, imagine if a robo vacuum is used in a facility, in a secure facility. They have a floor plan and a layout of the house.
Right, does your robot vacuum has camera and microphone?
I believe it does because it can see as well. Now I don't know any reason why a robo vacuum should have a microphone and a camera. I'm sure there are smart features that we can all come up with, right? But again, at the end of the day, it has access to your home. It is getting data, right? And is sending back, right, all this data to a central service because I can control the robo vacuum through an app, right? So that means there is a mechanism that my phone can communicate with that, with that vacuum, with that smart appliance over internet, right? When my son was born, I had a camera, right, in his, in his room pointing at his crib, right? Now that camera actually operated over a server hosted on, we talked about cloud, was hosted on Amazon Web Service, right? Now, why are we talking about Internet of Things, right? While there has been a lot of progress in protecting your computers, your laptops, your emails, your infrastructure, your server, your applications, not a lot of progress has happened on IoT security, right? Have you ever heard of a security software to protect against this robo vacuum or the smart cameras or your smart TV, right? But if you know, right, again, being in the industry, we know there are a lot of vulnerabilities and exploits that are available for smart TVs. As an example, I think it was around 5 or 6 years back when, one of, again, we will not take brand names, but a leading brand, of a TV manufacturer came up with this smart TV. And there was an exploit, right? There was a vulnerability that was available on internet through which you can hack into the TV and convert that to a listening device, right? Now, it wasn't sophisticated. It wasn't, again, extremely complex to do it. Is just because the device, when this was created, it was created without any security controls, right? When we develop applications, we think on application security controls, right? We do a pen test on them. We do secure code reviews on our applications. But similarly, when IoT devices and products are manufactured, not the same lens is provided. Now the trend is changing, right? So we are, as a matter of fact, one of our services, we do hardware security areas, right? So the trend is changing. Look, this is going to change. It's not always, not everything is a doomsday scenario, right? Now, again, some of the things that we will start seeing are a lot of standardization for security controls for IoT devices, right? One of the examples that we kind of talk about is manufacturing plants as an example, right? Now, why manufacturing plants? Because while they have, knowledge workers and IT workers, right? They have a lot of IoT devices, right? For example, let's take a bottling plant as an example. They have counters for how many bottles they are manufacturing, right? They have smart devices, smart sensors throughout their manufacturing floor that today are giving them telemetry data to automate some of the manufacturing processes, right? Now, again, as with any industry, right, we tend to take care of the IT side, right? All IT security today, all the compliance and the frameworks, ISO 27001 and SOC 2s, PCI, everything that we have talked about till now is all about IT, right? When it comes to operational technology or IoT, specifically IoT world, right? There are not many standards out there, right? So a lot of that infrastructure tends to be insecure, tends to be overlooked by IT, right? Because again, traditionally IT teams are not responsible for IoT, right? And that leaves an attack surface out, right? What happens when you leave an attack surface out? Again, we are sitting in a room right now where there's a smart TV. If that's connected to the internet, again, it leaves an attack surface for hackers.
Maybe let's ask here, don't answer us, but think about yourself. How many smart devices you have at your home? I think statistic today about between the 15 to 25, and maybe some people have even more.
My Samsung oven is smart. right? I don't know why I need a smart oven, but when we bought it, like, it came with the Wi-Fi feature, and I really liked it. But again, for the, I don't know why would I need a smart oven ever in my life. But look, that is the trend, and that is going to continue, right? We don't see that stopping anytime soon. We will see adoption on a lot of these smart devices. What, again, we'll talk about the back to basics very soon, right? When we buy all of these devices, as consumers, we need to ensure that we are locking them down, right? We need, again, manufacturers and companies need to be more transparent, right, when it comes to security settings within IoT devices. It's not always apparent, but we need to start doing that.
And maybe one last point on this topic. Especially in Latin America, we work today with multiple organizations that are it's having manufacturing floor, food packaging floor, distribution that have a lot of IoT devices. And many times those devices, even supported by third party, their vendors, we see complete lack of understanding. Many times once we walk into the new environment, how do you protect it? And sometimes if you're someone connecting to a machine that doing packaging of bananas, for example, and a remote vendor connecting to it, but it is connected to your whole IT environment. And maybe you are doing best protection for your IT environment, but you're opening backdoor for someone that you don't know. And many times hackers going after those aggregators. If you have, there is a big thing called supply chain attacks. If you have vendor that installed in 3,000 clients around the globe, they will go after this vendor just to get to this 3,000 clients base. And of course, it's cybersecurity. It's a multi-layered, multifaceted approach. It's not just IT problem. I want to reemphasize that. How do you build processes, controls, technology, and how do you connect everything together? Because it's enough one smallest crack in your defense to get in.
A chink in the arm, right? Now, so you talk about supply chain, folks, we will have a webinar on supply chain security soon. So tune in for that. We're going to focus, that's a topic that needs a full hour of itself, right? So we'll create a supply chain cybersecurity webinar very soon. So stay tuned for that. Awesome. Now, this is, again, one of my favorite topics, right? Whenever we talk to clients and prospects and everybody around the world, we talk about, the latest and greatest, right? So what is AI? We started with AI. Again, it's a topic of the future, right? It's the trending topic of the year. How AI is going to change the, not only the innovation and how they're going to advance, humankind, but also how they are fueling cybersecurity, right? We talked about that at the very start. But, I always talk about, let's get back to the basics, right? As we said, ransomware operators, the impact is huge, right? There is existential threat that might happen because of a potential ransomware. But the way they will get in is not by any advanced threats. It's not by an advanced 0 day that they will use, right? 0 days, again, there's a Netflix show 0 day as well that you guys can check out, but it's essentially an exploit. It's for which there is no cure, right? It's a disease for which there is no cure, right? So a lot of hackers use 0 day exploits, right, to get in, but they're extremely expensive. The cost of the attack is extremely high, right? So will a ransomware operator use that on everybody? Probably not, right? They will try to get in, right, by stealing your credentials, by phishing your employees, right, by going after weak credentials, weak passwords, right, guessable passwords, and especially when nobody's watching all of these attacks, right? So a lot of clients, when and prospects, right, when we don't see a security operations center watching for these sort of threats, that's how they will get in. And once they're in, their motivation, again, it's a money driven, it's a profit driven threat actor, right? So they are after extortion, right? We know a lot of clients, and they know as well, a lot of clients have cyber insurance, and they know that they are covered for payouts. So they know there is a payday coming, right? So the maximum damage that they can do, right, the maximum disruption that they can do, they'll try their level best to do that. They'll extort, double and triple extortion schemes. We have dealt with a lot of cases on that, right? Unfortunately, again, we don't see this trend dying down. And hence we say back to the basics, right? Now we have a couple of slides around back to basics, right? Now, and these are again, you must have heard about these things at the start, right? Things around strong authentication, right? What do we mean by that? So multi-factor authentication, that's the easiest way to think about it. Use strong passwords. Don't use a guessable password. Use a password manager. Ensure that you have a multi-factor authentication, like the app or the SMS that you get. Now, when multi-factor authentication came out in the industry, it started by sending a factor over SMS. Now, today, that is not even safe, right? When it comes to multi-factor authentication, there is only certain type of MFAs that are considered safe today. Because again, from a threat actor perspective, there have been bypass, and we are actually dealing with the incident as of this week where the MFA was bypassed, right, on a leading email provider, right, to get into the account of the executive, right. So again, what we are saying is nothing new, but these are again things to kind of think on, right.
It's nothing new, and the cybercrime committed in very not flashy way. And a lot of people, I think the gap today in overall with the business leaders community, because if you don't see it and you cannot touch it, it's really hard to comprehend why do you need to spend your hard-earned dollars of your company on that? And at the end of the day, those examples that Rani giving, MFA bypass, it happened in very targeted attack for very high-profile executive with potential impact, multi-million-dollar impact. But we still see smaller environments that we walk into that getting breached, and it's not usually not our clients, it's people that calling us, finding us on the internet or through connections, and saying, oh my God, we got breached. You walk in, and this basic stuff, why do I need to have MFA? Because it's extremely uncomfortable, but this is it's enough small crack, and this is how they get in.
It's very unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate, and again, it's just one example. There is multitude of those examples.
Exactly. So talking about some other examples of back to basics, right? Regular security audits and continuous monitoring. What do we mean by that? Now, we talked about a lot of attacks and techniques. We talked about security tools, right? Now you can have the best of breed security tools out there. You can have the Gartner's top quadrant security tools. You can invest millions in them. But if nobody's watching it and nobody's reacting to it, there is nothing to be done, right? So that tool will give you all the alerts. And again, we see a lot of cases where we come in for investigations and we see the tool actually alerted over the last 1 or 2 weeks about all of these things, but nobody was watching it, right? So again, as we invest in security tools, you need to think from a perspective as well as is your team going to watch it continuously on a 24/7 basis, monitor it, react to it, and know what to do with it, right? So if an alert comes in, do they know how to respond to it? Right. Again, these are nothing new. These have been talked about since ages, since ISO 27000 was incepted 2013. We have seen even earlier, we have seen versions where talked about security audits and continuous monitoring. Right. We talked about cloud in a bit. As we said, if you are a Microsoft customer, if you are a Google Workspace customer, or if you have an infrastructure from Amazon Web Services with AWS, right, they already give you security features. Right now, a lot of clients, again, they don't know, because again, as a vendor, as Microsoft and anybody who has dealt with Microsoft, they know the complicated licensing behind it. The issue becomes a lot of time customers, they don't know what to lock down. Right. So a lot of times we go in, we actually tell the customer, look, you have an E5 license. Right. E5 is a type of a Microsoft license, right? You have an E5 license and you're not doing anything on that, right? Let us help you. You're actually paying for it, right? You're paying for it every month for every user, but let us help you implement some of the security features so that you can get ROI, right, on things you're already paying for. And a lot of times it's eye-opening for customers because they do not even know they're paying for it, right? So again, important things, everybody's on cloud today. All the emails are on cloud today. Look at your settings, talk to a professional, we can help log those things down.
And maybe, Arani, if I can add here, I want you to ask yourself a question. Is my IT people came and told me in the last 6 to 12 months, I have too much time and I don't know what to do with the budgets? Well, most probably, and again, it's a rhetorical question. We see in 100% of the cases that IT people spread thin in dealing with classical traditional IT issue, and especially if you move to AWS, Azure, it doesn't matter. It's a new stuff for them. But the thing that Rani mentioned, it's fundamental. It's not that people don't know. They even don't know what questions to ask to discover what need to be done.
Exactly.
And this is one of the key gaps why organizations getting breached. And maybe just for sake of time, let's move.
Exactly. So we'll move on a few things to again highlight from a back to basics series, right? And again, folks, will do back to basics, on our future webinars as well. Employee trainings and awareness, right? Again, very basic, right? Employees needs to be trained on how to see a phishing email, right? The reason we focus, right, a lot on people security, because that's most of the time, that's how hackers getting most of the time, right? They exploit through social engineering, right? They might give you a phone call, you might get an SMS on your phone. A lot of clients we are seeing getting SMSs on various things, very common. It's not, if we deal with clients who get SMSs on various pretexting as their CEOs, right? It's very common. It's not difficult to do it. It's very common. But what we need to train the employees to do is, again, to recognize that this is a phishing, right? Don't click on it, right? And then there are other security tools that we put on your phone, that we put on your laptops, that we put on your devices, that even if you clicked on it, we are able to arrest it, right? But the idea is, again, to have continuous training, right? Through continuous phishing. Some of you might already be doing that in order to ensure that people don't fall for it, right? The other areas, again, we talked about incidents. Now, unfortunately, again, as an industry, right, we deal with a lot of security incidents. We start a relationship with our clients on a lot of these incidents. Again, they can be avoided, right? Again, easier said than done, right? It's an adoption, it's a change management that needs to happen, but developing a simple IR plan, an incident response plan for your organization, right? What that means, during an incident, do you know who to call? Right? What are the immediate steps your IT team needs to do, right, in order to contain that incident, right? Do you have cyber insurance, right? Is the insurance covering certain aspects, right? A lot of times, again, we have seen clients having insurance, and then there is a sense of protection because, hey, we have insurance and insurance is going to pay for it. Again, from a risk management, we come from a risk management background. Insurance is just a transfer of liability, right? So they are going to protect you from a financial aspect, right? But if business goes down, if you don't have backups, insurance can't do anything on that, right? They might pay for restoration, they will cover the financial aspects, but
if you have what to restore,
if you have what to restore, but they're not going to help you get back to business if you don't have the basics covered. So what we are seeing in insurance industry now, because of the trend that we kind of spoke about, ransomware on rise, there is a statistics in the last few years. The amount of premium collected by the insurance was much lower than what they actually paid out as ransom, right? What does that mean? Insurance is getting smarter as well. So a lot of clients, again, when we talk to them, just in order to get insured, like any other insurance, like a health insurance, they will do your blood work before they actually insure you. This is very important, right? They will not insure you if certain things are not there, certain basic things are not there.
And maybe, Arani, if I may add here, at the end of the day, there is cyber war going out there, and we see financial wars going in a global scale today, kinetic wars happening in different parts of the world, but cyber war is much harder to perceive because it is in cyberspace. You cannot feel it, you cannot touch it. But at the end of the day, if you look at your business, and exactly like Rani said, it's a business risk associated with cyber threats. How do you manage this risk? And being ex-military man, if you look at recruits in infantry units, they trained in a certain way, in certain situations, to get ready for a battle. If you don't prepare your organization for a cyber battle, you might get shot proverbially, and your organization might die. At the end of the day, it boils down to how do you protect your livelihood, your organization, and in some cases, organizations that, for example, manufacturing planes. If you're not protecting your avionics system, people might die. If people water plant treatment systems, people might die, and so on and so forth. So it's really you need to connect it to this level of from how do you connect from cyberspace to real life impacts. And we spent a lot of effort today as an organization to educate organizations to how to understand and interpret it.
Absolutely. And one of the, we talked about aviation companies, again, advanced business settings, right? Let's talk about some small, medium businesses across the countries as well, right? Like we dealt with a recent case where, home builders, right? So these are home builders local in Canada, right? They don't have sophisticated business, right? But they do have emails, but they do have construction plans. They do have their invoices and finances, right? And they're all on a server that got hit by a ransomware. It got locked out. So 20 years in business, it's a family-owned business, right? Their entire data is locked down, right? And they're not able to do business, right? Again, it shows that ransomware, again, these areas, they won't look at the sophistication of business as always. They will come after, if they know they have insurance, they'll come after them, right? And some of the other basics, again, we talk about today, is backups, right? We should start every conversation with backups, right? The only thing that is going to save you in a ransomware scenario is a bulletproof backup, right? Now we use the term bulletproof, right? But ultimately the idea is you need to have a backup, not only backup of your data that you need, but backup of your email, right? A lot of times you go to customers and again, we talked about cloud security and that shared responsibility model. Once they have a customer on Microsoft 365 as an example, they believe Microsoft is backing up all your email data, which is not true. Microsoft is making sure that the servers are available so that your email is always available, right? If the server goes down, that's on Microsoft. But if somebody hacks into your Microsoft 365 admin account and deletes all your email, is Microsoft going to restore them? No, because that's a responsibility to the customer, right? So again, backups are extremely necessary and backups are at all different layers, and there are a lot of hygienes around backups. And in one of, again, as we said, in one of the future webinars, we're also going to talk about backups in general and how important is it, what we should be doing around the hygiene for a good backup system to have. Now, I know we're on time and I know we have some questions as well. Should we round up some of the questions that are posted?
Yeah, we have 3 questions right now on the Q&A. One is why Latin America it's been more targeted now than years before.
So maybe I'll take a first stab. I'm doing business with Latin America for the last 14 years, and at the end of the day, if I'm comparing it to North America, Latin America made a huge leap in 2012-13 to adopt new technologies, like, for example, like payment apps. Even people that just never had bank account, but they got access to a mobile device, and now they can pay their cousin in different province. It creates fantastic capability, but like we mentioned through this webinar, getting new capability comes with responsibility, and there is a deficit on how do you secure your passwords. For example, a lot of people using this is why we're going to get back to basic, extremely simple passwords that are easy to guess, and they might lose all their life savings if they're using this type of application. You can see another gap in management perception about cyber. It is IT security versus cyber, and not enough done. There is fantastic talent, but this talent most of the time focused on IT skills, on other skills. There is not enough people in cybersecurity, and proportionally we see a gap versus North America, for example. It's much harder to find a cybersecurity specialist for big organizations. And by definition, it's simple supply and demand problem. Big organizations can pay bigger salaries to cybersecurity specialists, and it leaves exposed the majority of businesses, which are small and medium enterprises. And this is the outcome. And attackers are operating on the path of least resistance. They see that, they identify that. It's much easier to walk into organization and steal money from organization that ill protected versus working hard maybe to get a little more for organization in better protected the regions. So this is the reason.
Okay, we have got one more question. It says, what measure what measures can organizations take to prevent phishing attacks, and how can employees be educated to identify and report suspicious emails?
Perfect. Very good question. And one of the things that we covered, right? So security awareness trainings, right? So when a phishing attack comes in, right? And we're talking about phishing, which is email based, right? Now there are other means of social engineering as well. It can be a phone call, right? It can be a SMS, right? It can be a video deepfake call nowadays, right? But traditionally, again, majority of the attacks that we see come via email and a phishing email, right? So couple of things that you guys can do, right? Again, if you have an email system, right, today, be it on cloud, be it on prem, whichever type of email system you have, we need to ensure there are anti-spam phishing detection capability on those email systems, right? Now, inherently, a lot of the existing email providers don't have that. So what we suggest is put additional layer of email security tools on top of your emails, right? That's going to screen for these incoming emails coming in and ensure that only all the phishing emails are quarantined and are not passed through. Now, phishing is getting extremely sophisticated. They're getting extremely targeted. So at times there is an ability to bypass and a phishing email will land in employees' inbox. At which case, we call it defense in depth. So the other layer of control that comes in is education and awareness, right? People, again, employees need to be trained on how to recognize phishing emails. That can be done through continuous phishing assessments. So what we do at clients, as a lot of time is we continuously send employees targeted and different types of phishing emails. We see who's clicking, who see which is not clicking. The purpose is not to finger point and blame. The purpose is to educate and train, right? So if somebody clicks on it, it's an educational moment. Hey, you clicked on it, you shouldn't have. This is why you shouldn't have. This is the reason for it, and move on, right? So, and it's a continuous reinforcement, right? It shouldn't be a one-time sort of an exercise. It needs to be a continuous reinforcement on training, right? Apart from that, obviously, security education in general. Now, by famous tradition, October every year is the Cyber Awareness Month, right? Now, what we say jokingly, we don't need to wait till October. Every month can be a cyber education month, right? October, while a lot of people, a lot of the industry kind of focus on it, I think phishing awareness is something that needs to be reinforced on a daily basis. You can do it through a number of different mechanisms. But again, folks, email security systems, and no matter how much, advanced security tools that you put in, you will get that phishing email, and that one person who clicks is going to do that, right? So email security, number one, phishing assessments and continuous education. That's the two. Those are the two ways we can stop phishing emails.
And this is the time now to do it, because to tie it back to AI, we see spike because AI makes for attackers significantly more cost effective to build these attacks that are much more precise, way more in context. For example, like you see today, that they can write in proper Canadian English, American English, Mexican Spanish, Peruvian Spanish, and so on and so forth. We believe it will go, this trend will continue up, and if you're not preparing for that, those type of attacks, you will get it. Simple, period, full stop. Let's move to the next question.
Yeah, we have the last question here is, with the increasing of cloud services and remote work, what steps can individuals and organizations take to ensure the security and privacy of sensitive data transmitted over public networks?
Perfect. Awesome. Great question, right? Now, Dave, I think one of the keywords in the question is move to cloud, hybrid work, remote work, right? So what we are seeing increasingly, and this trend started with obviously COVID coming in, right? So people moved from an in-office, in a physical premise setting, right, to remote working and working from home, right? Now, the reason of this shift and also the security controls predominantly had been at a network level. So that means when you are coming to the office, when you are connecting to the office Wi-Fi or the office network, the assumption is you're protected because there are security tools in the office, right? That's protecting you from the data loss, from malicious data going out, privacy and security of the data, right? But with now you working from home and using your you're not your office Wi-Fi, but your home Wi-Fi, right, to work from it, it's not always the best case scenario, right? So what we have seen is adoption. Again, it's a term out there called zero trust architecture, right? Again, we will. I don't think we have enough time to go into zero trust, but what essentially it means is the security controls have moved to your laptops and your desktops, right? So the idea is, how do you protect your device, right? How do you protect the laptop, your Surface, your tablet, your mobile phone the best, so that you can have secure network, right? Now, technically speaking, there are certain tools like, for example, Cloud VPN, like SASE, you might heard about that term. What this terminology means is, no matter where you're connecting from, you might be connecting from Marriott while you're traveling, you might be connecting from a coffee shop, right? A public Wi-Fi. Your network traffic is always encrypted and always been inspected as it leaves your laptop or your mobile phone to reach to the destination, right? So there are a lot of security tools that we can actually put on your device that ensures no matter where you're working from today, no matter you're on vacation and you're working, I hope you're not doing that, but if you do, right, if you're traveling and you're working, these security controls on your device is protecting you no matter where you are.
Yeah, and maybe just to add here, and at the end of the day, if you look at organization, most of organizations, this is that created right now, the reality is they almost don't have any physical assets. And we as Armor talk about it for the last 5-6 years, that this shift will happen, and pandemic actually accelerated it to the level that we didn't expect it as well. And understanding this new paradigms requires really deep understanding. And you need to understand one thing, that cyber attacks, no one can prevent cyber attacks. Cyber attacks will be happening because there is money to be made and criminals want to make money. And the difference between your organization and the neighbor organization will be, are you better prepared? And it means there is multi-layer framework, that cybersecurity framework that need to be implemented, or your neighbor is better implemented. If you are better protected, if you are less protected, most probably you'll be the next victim.
Don't be the easy target.
Don't be the easy target.
Make it hard for attackers to get in, right? So that they move on to the next target, right? That's all about it, right? Like, you can always have the most defense out there, but without that layered approach, right, you won't have that.
And
right?
at the end of the day, the time is today, and I hope. I know we're almost on top of the hour. I know we said a lot, and it's a lot of information. I hope it was educative and interesting. But one thing that we are going around, and once we're meeting with business leaders, IT leaders, we educating them, and we calling for one thing: be proactive. There is a lot of things that we didn't touch today that need to be discussed at any organization. But what is important? You cannot control what you cannot control, but you can make yourself, your organization, your group of companies less attractive than the neighbor. And this is what matters. You can try to catch up with cyber criminals. Unfortunately, still to date, we as an industry playing catch-up game. And
I think that's it, folks. This was, again, we'll have a series of webinar. Like, there are a lot of topics that we'll dive in, and in the future webinars, we'll be actually diving topics like supply chain. Again, we'll have focus on ransomware, on backups, right? So we'll have focused areas on the webinar in future. If you guys have some ideas on things you want to listen to, please feel free to email us. We'll have this on our LinkedIn post as well. But yeah, I think, thank you for dialing in. I know we took 1 hour of your morning today. So again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for dialing in, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presence today. For any questions, please contact your Armor Cybersecurity contact. Thanks for sharing, and see you next time in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.